Terry, would you please give the roll call?
Brennan,
Brennan is on his way.
Chartran,
Here.
Dahlhoff,
Here.
Fawcett,
Here.
Halfway,
Here on timeout.
King,
Here.
Hauser,
Here.
Marhan, Mosier,
Here.
Table.
Here. If everyone will please rise, we'll have an invocation to pledge the flag. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for a beautiful day. While we are mindful of our nice climate, we are well aware of all the problems going around in the world. Floods in Texas, hurricanes in Puerto Rico, and of course the tragic shooting in Las Vegas. We pray for all the people that were killed and hurt. We have a moment of silence for the families and the victims. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge to the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll have a welcome from our host Fire Department member, Steve Bonnet. Steve, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. First of all, thank you for not kneeling during the pledge. Appreciate it.
Never had.
What an honor it is to host you folks here. We know without the Board of Legislators, we wouldn't be a fire department in these communities, and your support over the years, the radio system, Jerry, where'd you go? What a job. Glad it's coming behind us. We can't worry about the past, we focus on going ahead. We are very thankful to be here tonight. I wanted just to share with you our exits right behind us here, off the end. You see our authorized personnel only into the bays. You people are all authorized, okay? After the meeting, we can have some snacks to put out, and we'd love to have you stay and look around a little bit and see what we got to offer. We would love to do that for you. Right now, there's bottled water back on the kitchen counter and coffee. Please help yourselves to that. Restrooms are in the lobby. You saw them as you came in. But again, welcome, Mike. Thank you for everything you've done over the years, all of you guys. And thank you. Bill, can you please?
Oh, sorry. You just broke my heart.
Okay, report of the Rules and Legislation Committee for Rule 6, Terry.
The Rules and Legislation Committee has met and they recommend to waive the rules to act on late resolutions this evening.
Okay, and moved by Craig, second by Brian. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. At this time, we'll open our public hearing for comments on proposed addition of off-roads trails to the Lewis County ATV trail system on the Michael Wilt and Julia Painter properties in the town of Osceola. Also, we have comments on the effectiveness of the program's assistance or the Lewis County Direct Home Ownership Assistance Program. Do we have any comments from the public at this time on either one? Okay. Now we have Cheryl here to make some comments.
I didn't know if you had somebody else on board to be a
You see Russian do that. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Thanks for acknowledging me, Cheryl.
Thanks, Dan.
Cheryl, we need one more. Thanks.
Got one, Phil?
Yeah, I got one. Yeah. She remembered.
She remembered. I've got a couple more if anybody would like one. In September of 2015, Lewis County was applied for $324,800 in funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program. for the Lewis County Direct Homeownership Assistance Program 2015. The first public hearing was held on September 14th, 2015 in preparation for the application, and the second public hearing is being held today to provide residents with the opportunity to offer any comments on the accomplishments of the grant. The CDBG program requires 2 hearings, so that's why we're doing this one. The goal of the program is to assist low and moderate income households to purchase their first home by providing a buy down on the mortgage, payment of closing costs, and assistance to rehabilitate the housing unit to ensure that it meets code and housing quality standards as developed by HUD. The application was successful, and the county was awarded the funds. The grant agreement stipulated that all funds needed to be expended within 24 months or by December 11, 2017. The application anticipated that 8 households would be assisted with estimated program funds of $176,000 for mortgage buy-down and closing, and $104,000 for rehabilitation. An additional $44,800 was used for administration and program delivery assistance, bringing the total to $324,800. The program's nearing completion. We've got 5 homes have closed to date. We've got 4 pending, and we may have enough funds to do one more unless the homeowners that we projected need more assistance. So on your handout, the average down payment closing cost is projected to be about $21,217, and it ranges from $12,500 to $33,585. 3 of the closed homes needed repairs, and 4 of the pending homes may need repairs. The average total grant provided under this program is about $27,057. The average purchase price is $87,500, and the average mortgage is $68,188. There was no displacement, as the homes that were purchased were either vacant or in one case they were purchased by the existing tenant. And as you can see, the program is truly a countywide program. We had 1 home purchased in the village of Lions Falls, 1 in the village of Croghan, 1 in the hamlet of Glenfield, 2 in the town of Turin, 2 in the town of Denmark, 1 in the town of Watson, and 1 in the town of Brick. So these statistics are in the spreadsheet that I distributed, and also is 3 summaries of just to give you an idea of how of what the program has accomplished on an individual level and what the people are contributing. And in some cases, we found that people are paying less to buy a home, even with the taxes and insurance, than they were to rent. So it's a good thing. And most people are paying about 1 to 2% of the purchase price in addition to what we're providing them. And we're assisting, most of the people are young families, but we've also got single individuals as well. One of them was a female-headed household, and in one case we had a disabled family member, and one was a single parent. So that's the synopsis of the program. Betty.
Any questions for Cheryl?
So Cheryl, this sheet that shows us the purchaser contribution, is that the average, or is that the typical, or is that just one?
Well, each sheet is an individual, so you've got 3 individual sheets, but it's pretty average. I mean, most of them are paying between about $1,200 out of pocket total. You know, between the down payment, they have to pay a recording fee for the recording of the grant. They have to pay an application fee. They have to pay the counseling fee, and then when they go to closing, they have to pay the first year's insurance premium.
That's really good. I mean,
It's a very good deal.
Yes, it
It's a
is.
very good deal. Yeah, and then if they need repairs, you know, some of them need repairs, but they're pretty minor. I mean, that's why when we designed the program, we designed it so that it wasn't a fixer-upper program. People had to contribute something. And they couldn't buy a fixer-upper and then use most of the grant money, because you need to have a house that's going to be affordable over time, that's going to be in standard condition to begin with, so it would only need minimal repair. So that's kind of just gives you an idea of individual cases of what they're contributing. The ones that were had no rent or little rent, in some cases they're living at home and they're going out on their own. And so they don't have any rental expense. In one case, the rent was pretty extensive. But these are kind of ballparks.
Did they choose the houses, or did you choose?
Oh, yeah, they have to choose, yeah, they choose their own house. And most of the time, they're going to the realtor. In some cases, we did have somebody who was renting a home and then they decided they wanted to buy the home they're renting. And in some cases, it's just a seller, a private sale. We did have one that was a private sale. But they all have to get a mortgage because they have to be able to, get a mortgage because the mortgage gets recorded and then the Lewis County grant and mortgage gets recorded. So if they sell the home before the 10-year period, they'd have to pay a portion of that money back. Because the whole purpose of the program is not for people to come in and buy homes and then flip them.
Right.
It's to make sure that they're going to be affordable, they're going to be in there for 10 years.
Cheryl, you have the comparison on the first page of this homeownership, where the person was paying rent for $725, and then the current housing expense for the house is $1644. Does that reflect the escrow on their taxes also, or
That includes
that
the
includes
escrow for
that?
taxes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is a good deal.
Okay.
Particularly in this one case. Yeah, they all have to escrow the taxes, so in all 3 cases they were.
Are they all 30-year mortgages?
Yes, they're all 30-year mortgages.
Any other comments from the public regarding the direct homeownership assistance program or the ATV proposed trail? The public hearing will remain open, and I'll ask you in later before I close it. All right, back up a little bit. Did all legislators receive a copy of the September 5th meeting minutes? Were there any corrections? Not, I'll announce they stand approved. Now we go to privilege of the floor. Is there any comments from the public regarding any topic at this time? John Lehman.
Yeah, Mike, I asked you beforehand, so I wouldn't want to blindside you, but as I've been going around campaigning, there's a couple of questions that keep getting brought up to me, and it pertains to the board on how you feel about the New York Constitution being opened up and on the Affordable Care Act and how it's going to affect Lewis County if it ever does get passed. Have you ever thought of passing a resolution and sending it to your state representatives saying you either support it or don't support it? Because I can call down there to Lisa's and it's like, yeah, whatever. But I think if the board makes a decision and sends it down there, it gets in the paper, it gets in the news, and they realize then the voters care. For individuals, it's a joke. I called down there before the House voted on it, the Affordable Care Act, and the day before, you get no answer. Well, she ain't decided yet. You're talking 24 hours before the vote, and you ain't decided. I just think pressure needs to be put on some of these representatives. And I don't know, how do you feel about it? Do you just ever think of doing that?
Jerry, did the hospital take a stance on that? Did I hear some conversation here? Your hospital board?
Yes, we did, and there's another one to take a stance on in my report tonight.
So the hospital themselves are addressing it. As far as the Constitutional Convention, we as a group haven't really discussed it. I know NISAC has talked about it upcoming, and they seem somewhat supportive of it. We talked of the merits of it. But as far as a group as the legislators, we haven't really come to a consensus. I guess we probably could give some thought to it.
Yeah, we could.
Jerry, didn't you bring that up? Didn't we talk about that here about a year ago?
It was
years ago because it was talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff we got to realize is that without a constitutional convention, we cannot change some of the stuff that's already in law. But also that there's a downside. If you have a constitutional convention, it may be a lot worse than it is. So I think what we need to do is weigh the pros and cons and amongst ourselves and try to figure out, which way we feel is strongest. because on both sides, I mean, my understanding is that, you know, when they put the group together, you know, there's some of the rules that you can be, it's in the Constitution. You can be convicted of a crime and still serve in office. Some of the paid money is coming through there, protected that way. You know, hopefully we could get that changed in the same aspect. When we go into it, we also got to realize there's a downside, that if we hold convention, we could lose a lot more than what we're trying to change. So I think what we need to do is look into it further.
Go ahead, Larry.
John, could I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is there a consensus among the people that you talked with on what they would, whether they support it or don't?
On the convention, I talked to Beaver Rivers Teachers Association, and they're very much against it. Kelly Huxley has been going around doing seminars at different schools on it because they're really scared of their state pension. And I understand that, because people that are making these decisions, it ain't gonna be your legislators. It's gonna be a panel of people, businessmen, millionaires, who wanna line their pockets. And like Jerry said, there's some stuff that needs to be changed, but to open it up, it scares me.
I'd like to add that I haven't had one call on that
No?
specific or either of those two subject matters you brought up. I will tell you, as Mike did, that NISAC at the convention this fall is leaning towards supporting it. That's what my takeaway from that meeting.
Yeah, because there are issues that, like mandates, that don't seem to get the attention of our lawmakers. So that's why a certain group of people want to take a little bit of control ourselves and try to make a difference that way. So that's a pro to the.
My concern with that is who's going to be at the table. We're the stakeholders.
Exactly right.
It doesn't appear that we're going to have a lot of input from this vantage to select those people at that table. So we are going to be at their mercy, whoever they are, and it could go bad. And I think Brian mentioned it. You know, it could go good or it could go bad. And as far as affordable health care, I don't think anybody has been able to explain to me what the hell it is, if you'll excuse my word.
No, and I agree with you.
And once we know what the platform is, what are they offering, then we can make a decision, good or bad. But right now, it's all speculation, that we'll lose this if it happens, and we won't get this, and the seniors will pay. I really see nothing of consequence that can help me understand what it is.
Until they work together, it's just not gonna go.
Yeah, so I don't know, John, how you would possibly take a position on it. I can't.
Well, I just know the way the last bill was written, that New York State was gonna take a big hit.
So it was said, but I'm not sure, I didn't see it. Did you? Did you see the bill?
Not the bill, I just saw the article.
Yeah, just the articles.
You're talking, heck,
Yeah.
you're talking $100 million that you're gonna get hit on. Somebody's gonna pay for that.
And most of that money, John, I do believe was on the Medicaid side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then that's where everyone has to decide what portion, what do you want to give up? Because mind you, when this affordable health care gets passed, if it ever does, there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers, and there's none that isn't going to affect at all. So basically, I guess as me sitting here in the position I'm in, is that I've got to look at what's it going to benefit the most, who's it going to benefit the most for us. Of course, with the hospital, if the Medicaid is cut, you know darn well, it's going to hurt this community as a whole.
Big time.
So, I mean,
And that's just here, and not just our hospital, it looks like the whole North County
Right.
hospital.
but mind you, New York State is one of the top money getters on the Obamacare health bill right now. So what they're trying to do, I mean, now the Republicans are in power, so they're trying to distribute that money over the Republican areas. So of course, New York State's going to be upset that they're losing some funding because they've had it so good now for 8 years. So.
Well, it's like Greg said, they don't give you the whole information.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty hard to take a stance if you don't have the facts.
Thank you.
Okay, John.
You're welcome.
Were there any other comments from the public at this time? Okay, we'll move along. Presentation of communications and notices, Terry.
John Boyd has submitted a letter of resignation from the Junkyard Review Board. The New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation has informed they have listed the first Lewis County Clerk's Office located in Martinsburg on the New York State Register of Historic Places and have nominated it to the keeper of the National Register of Historic Places. The Greene County Legislature forwarded a copy of their enacted resolution to commence litigation against manufacturers of prescription opiates. And that concludes.
Thank you, Terry. And now the reports of county officers and departments, Terry.
Legislators have each received copies of the county treasurer's September report and the third quarterly bed tax report. The September 13 and September 22nd solid waste and highway audit reports, and the minutes of the September 12 Junkyard Review Board meeting. The September monthly report of the Director of Weights and Measures, Jim Richmeyer, has been received and placed on file in my office. And that concludes reports.
Thank you, Terry. And now we go to reports of the standing committees, Phil, Taxation, Elections, IT. Phil, where are you? Oh, Phil, over there. What are you doing over there?
Okay, Mike. Mike, as you know, Brian and Jerry wanted, and the legislators agreed to have this meeting here as a way to acknowledge, in a small part, the contributions that you made. And we were all for that. For my part, I'm going to give you the ultimate sacrifice, and my contribution is going to be a brief report. But don't ever ask for that again. Cheer. Okay, Jay. You're on. Okay, regarding IT, our new website, our new very user-friendly website should go online around the 1st of the month, 1st of November. And one thing that should be noted on there, it's going to be really easy for people to access job openings, and in fact, you would be able to fill out an application and apply online. So hopefully that might open it up to a broader section of people. Regarding the broadband, I'll, as usual, defer to Ryan and Adam on that. Real property, the 2020 census preparation has begun. Planning as the lead agency on that, but Real Property is assisting them. And on the flip side of that, at Ryan's suggestion and Frank Pace's cooperation, Cassandra Buell in planning is going to assist Real Property with 911 problem areas. It's just good things happen when people work together. And actually, Cassandra and Elena from Real Property have already done some investigation on problem areas. They both have the 2 E's that I think I had once, but I can't remember. They've got energy and enthusiasm. So it's going to be a real good combination there. The only other thing is, because the AutoCAD system is a 2010 system, it's no longer going to be supported after the 1st of the year. So we need to purchase the 2018 version. It's a one-time cost, and although Real Property are able to find the money in their budget because they didn't have some expenditures they were anticipating, I still would like to make a motion to allow them to purchase that this year to keep it out of next year's budget and use the leftover fund from 2 different categories that they have. And I'd like to make that motion so everybody is aware that it's an extra, but they're paying for it.
Okay, we got a motion by Phil. Is there a second? Second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor of Phil's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
And my time is done.
Now, record for Phil.
Let the record show, Patty.
Okay, I've written it down.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Go to Rocky, Social Service, Office of the Aging Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll start with social services. The Lewis County Department of Social Services will do a robocall on November 13th, the opening day of regular heat. This call is a courtesy call from the department, letting people know that they are automatically eligible for a heat payment and do not need to apply or call DSS about heat. This call will be informational only and is sponsored by the department. DSS will be using the reverse 911 system to make the calls using file sharing. Thank you to Sheriff Carpinelli and the dispatch staff for allowing DSS to use this system. Medicare open enrollment starts October 15th. Call Office of the Aging for insurance counseling. That's it for DSS. Office of the Aging. Most of all of you know that Brenda has resigned. We wish her all the best in the next chapter of her life. Effective last month, the Office of the Aging is now open during the lunch hour, making their office hours Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. The Home and Energy Assistance Program, which is HEAT, is scheduled to open mid-November. If you were in the program last year, you have already received an application, and if you are new and want to apply for a HEAT, please call the Office of the Aging at 315-376-5313. If you're 55 years old or older and looking for employment, Tina at the Office of Aging will help you. Call her. Same number, 315-376-5313. Office of the Aging held their Oktoberfest and public hearing a few days ago, and 170 people attended, which is fabulous. The 2017 Randy Streeter Senior Citizen of the Year Award was given to Nancy Jones from Copenhagen. Youth Bureau. Not sure how many of you made it to the Lewis County Night Out at the fairgrounds last month, but there were a lot of people, and I think it was a huge success. And that covers my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rocky. Brian, County Officers, Veterans, Junkyard, and HR.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the junkyard end, everyone received the minutes on that. A few things on where we stand on 3 of the property owners. The one in the town of Watson, we're waiting on the judge there, Greg Berker, to follow through with what was set forth for this gentleman. The Morchek property up in West Light in the open air garage, they call it, that is supposed to be, stuff is supposed to be being moved, and then if nothing is, on the 12th of this month, the codes inspector Tim Woodrick is supposed to go up and check to see what that's at, where that's at. So if nothing's been improved or it isn't to the satisfaction of Tim, it'll go in front of the judge. Hopefully he'll levy some fines or put some teeth into this, get that area cleaned up. And that would be the same thing with John Rouser.
I can give you an update
Okay.
on the properties in the town of Lewis. Both of them that were pending, both have now been fined.
Okay.
And we will be prepared to continue to refile as soon as we get the new warrant.
Okay. Thank you, John. And we're still working on changing the junkyard law to put a little bit more teeth in it. We'd like to put a section in that we, like I said last month, we can go and clean it up and we can put it on the tax bill. I think that's probably where we're going to end up doing with some of this property. And I think if we do a couple of properties like that, I think people will start getting clean, hopefully. On the HR end, we had SciTech. Remember, we had hired SciTech to come in and do our non-exempt employees to give us kind of an idea of the pay scales and stuff. That came back very positive. We only had 1 or 2 employees that we might be off with a little bit, but we're within range with the rest of them. But basically what we had this done for, so when someone retires, now we have a basis to go by of what we can hire these people at, to replace. So they gives us range. We never had anything like that before. We were shooting from the hip. We were just throwing out numbers what we thought. So we had a point system based on the point system that they use. It's a nine-point system. The factors are knowledge, supervisor, skill controls, guidelines, complexity of their job, scope and effect, personal contacts, purpose of contacts, physical demands of work environment. And each one of them factors has a points value to it. So then that's based, and once you get that total point, then you can base what you want to offer for that job. And then moving forward, then, you know, if we want to give raises based on performance evaluation, or how we've been doing is following along with the non-exempt employees contract. So that's up, but this gives us a baseline to start from. And then just want to remind everyone that the Family Farm Day is this coming weekend at the Beller Farm out between Naumburg and Carthage on Jackson Hill on Route 26. I forget what times that start, Michelle.
126, I believe, Brian.
126. Did I say 26?
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
sorry, 126.
Somebody took her.
I know where it is. I just said the wrong number. What time does that start, Michelle?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Okay. So if you have time to go out, the Bellers have done expanded over the last 15 years here. They've got a beautiful farm there. I mean, it'd be a great place. I do believe that were they going to try to have a birthing?
They do.
They do. So you can actually see Kaz's birth, if everything timing works out all right. And then one more thing on the cooperative extension, because I sit on that board, is Penny and I went to their 4-H awards program, and I was very impressed. It is great to see how many kids are involved in this program and the things that they do. We tried to stop at the state fair and see them when they were down there, but I didn't realize that each county has a certain amount of days at the state fair that they're on display. There's so many 4-H programs, so they rotate them out through the 2.5 weeks. So I do believe that's it, Chairman. Let me see, double check. Yep, that's it.
I'd like to just add that the Family Farm Day is Saturday, which Brian mentioned, but it's also part of the Fall Foliage Tour put on by the Chamber. So buy your chamber for $1, or it's online, and kind of take the full day in all across Lewis County.
Thank you, Rocky. Go to Jerry, Carson Law.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple motions tonight. One motion, motion to authorize Sheriff Carpinelli to hire a temporary jail nurse for a period up to 12 weeks during the impending FMLA leave of a current employee. So I'd like to make that one motion.
Okay, moved by Jerry, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the second motion I have is a motion to authorize Sheriff Carpinelli to temporarily promote a deputy sheriff to sergeant and a sergeant to deputy sheriff / criminal investigator effective immediately through December 31st, 2017.
And that's moved by Jerry, second by Dick. Discussion.
There's no backfill of the road patrol, correct?
Right.
That gets
Not at this
promoted.
time.
Okay.
And would he maintain his sergeant status?
For the temporary, yeah, but they gotta still backfill because when they bump the person up, which is in that position.
But what I heard you to say was he would change the investigator to deputy sheriff investigator and not sergeant, so I misunderstood you. He would keep his, he was a sergeant, correct?
Right.
And he would keep his sergeant status?
Yes. In case when he bumps back, but there's
Right.
gonna be someone bumped up to fill in. Well, he's up an investigator.
It's done for 3 months.
Yeah, it's gonna leave a blank, but there won't be a sergeant.
After 3 months, it has to be.
That gives us time to get through our budget period, discuss it in HR and everything else, and then make a decision for next year.
Is there a particular reason for this, Jerry?
As far as
Adding another investigator?
they need it.
I understand they had, the committee met with the sheriff, and it was
left it up to, wherever the sheriff wants to move them. The committee gave him permission. I did not make
If
that.
you're with there, I was on that committee, that the information that was presented to us at that committee was such that we felt for this 3-month period, we would have a second investigator up there. The backlog in prosecuting of those cases is such that we can do a better job prosecuting the cases, putting the people where they truly belong, if we have a second investigator in there. It also gives us 3 months then, Craig, to further review the situation and make an informed decision through the budget process. So we're trying to get rid of the backlog and then have time for everybody to take a look and discuss it, rather than just say, don't do anything for 3 months and let the backlog just keep climbing. That's kind of what was presented.
And I support
Language I heard, they were in dire need of one right off. It was really a tense situation up there. Any other comments on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Paging system, E.F. Johnson's up here, made some more adjustments to the system as of now. It's performing pretty well. There's a little background noise. Don McKenzie and I are going to go out and verify it tomorrow, because next week we got a conference call coming up with E.F. Johnson. So, hopefully we got it. But I said that before, so we'll see. The other thing is we received a card from county employees and fellow legislators. Karen, and I'd like to thank you very much for your thought. Appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Go to Larry, Economic Development, Planning, Forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with a motion to authorize an appropriation of $750 for the North Country Regional Economic Development Council for their preparation and submission of a printed progress report to the state, including design and graphics as part of the annual competition.
It's motion by Larry, second by Brian. Discussion. And I guess I can take credit for asking Larry to bring that one to everyone's attention. It's a new request for money. It's not a lot, but it's significant. $350 to help boost the promotion of our area for economic development awards. Any other comments, questions?
It's $750.
Yes,
Yes,
$750.
Trying to reduce it?
Didn't work, did it?
No.
Okay. All in favor of Larry's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, some quick notes from the committee meeting. We have 9 established riders for the JCC Connector group currently. One of the issues is if they have an 8 a.m. class, they're unable to ride the bus. So we're working with JCC to see if we can get Lewis County students could get preference for afternoon classes, so we can address that. In the packet, there's a resolution for another bus shelter at the hospital. Moving to recreation, it was reported that the Buck Run had 10,030 ATVs this year, which was an increase from 327 last year. 4 accidents resulting in 3 personal injuries. We've heard from local businesses. They seem happy with the event and got positive feedback from Facebook comments. Mopus, the timber management company, has agreed to work with the county in creating a trail from Harrisville to Rockford. So we'll see if we can get somewhere with that. Business Leaders Breakfast was well attended and deemed successful. The manufacturing day will be held on October 13th, and there will be various sites throughout the county that schools will visit to get a better look at career opportunities available in the county. Skew Brewing will be signing a lease agreement if they haven't already with full operation of this new location and add a few jobs, I think 4 or 5.
4 to 5 was expected.
Once the production is increased. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Any questions?
Any questions for Larry?
That's a long report.
Yeah, I'm still behind Rocky.
Okay, we go to Craig, Ways and Means, Buildings and Grounds.
Okay, it'll be a very short report. We had a very short meeting because we're in the middle of budget. And all the draft budgets are not in yet. So we anticipate a couple of meetings, special meetings during the month as needed to take care of business on the budget. Frank Archer and his crew have worked very diligently to upgrade the space that the sheriff has up there at the PSB, and he's put in new floors, downtown painted, new carpeting, and the sheriff has got to be last to get his, I'm told, in November. And he's in dire need of a new floor. You'll get it. Frank says you'll get it, you'll get it. And I want to commend them because they've done some very creative things and saved the county a lot of money. When, just as an example, when Office of the Aging was up at the church, they were there a short period of time, they got all new carpeting. When they moved, Frank had the insight to preserve that carpeting. So you've got some used stuff, Sheriff, in case you didn't know. He said it passed as new, though. So we're very proud of them for saving that. I mean, paint's expensive, but they buckled down, they got it done, and I'm told it looks very nice in there. It's a big improvement. Patty and Ryan are still working, as I mentioned, working with the department heads on the budget. So Patty will give us some further information, and I'm sure Ryan will as to where we are in that. So I will pass it on, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Craig, and we go to Greg, Transportation and Solid Waste.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to start with a motion for the highway. Motion to authorize Highway Superintendent Dave Becker to promote one full-time machinery equipment operator, medium to a heavy operator, for an impending retirement, and to refill that machine, the medium, with a position according to the civil service regulations, effective immediately.
Okay, we've got a motion by Greg, a second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right. Okay. On solid waste, the Household Hazardous Waste Days was held on the 8th of September. It served 204 households, which was an increase from the previous years. That just helps dank out because they really don't want that stuff mixed in the garbage there. So they had a software update done on the scales, and that was completed, and the training was complete. And the recycling revenue is up from Oneida Herkimer. And for some reason, the recyclables are up quite a bit, and so is the trash. So I don't know how both of them keep climbing, but they both do. So everything's looking good up at solid waste. Highway, they're still working on paving. They were in September anyway. I don't know if they still are. Dave's in the room somewhere. There's no paving, Dave? Today. Okay. And then they're going to go from there and start working on the Sears Pond Road, rebuilding that road. Fuel depot, we still have to, that's still in discussion right now. They're having to buy used parts to put them back together. They don't make new ones for it. That we really are probably going to have to look at something. Also, the oil water separator there for the drains in the building. Paragon's coming in. The expected cost is $2,000. So that's going to be for getting those separator fixed up and cleaned and get a price for a new one because this one's old. And that was it for solid waste and highway. I do go to the double play board, and just wanted to give you some information that's past due, really. They had a total attendance for summer rec program of 190. That was
substantially better than they had, years previous. The year before was 45 people, 45 males. And the breakdown was 107 males and 83 females. The ages were from, of course, 4 up to 12. And the townships that were served, because Martinsburg, Turner, and Constableville, they have their own recreation with Watson. But Beaver Falls and Castellan had attendees. Krogan and New Bremen, there was attendees. Brainham, Glenfield, and Bragg. Lions Falls and Port Light and Boonville was 33 attended from there. And then Lowville had 141. So there was a wide range of different areas that was served by Double Play. And they did use some of the county money to fund the, I think they were short like $2,400 from what they got paid to put the program on that school. They're having a comedy night in November. The board members have tickets to sell. Mr. Zare over there probably has some tickets if anybody wants to buy them. October 8th, there's a chicken barbecue at Cole Park for a fundraiser, holiday gift sale. So hopefully everything keeps going well for them. It seems like everything's doing well. They have some good plans, and I think it'll be a big help to the community. And that's the end of my report.
Dick, you had a question?
Yeah, Greg, what you're saying there with the Double Play is dead on. And for some reason, my phone number was given out to most of the adult ladies who were in the swim program that was at the Lowell Academy Central School. And they really, really thought it was a great program. They explained the benefits that they were getting from it, and they hope it gets continued, so.
I thought you were going to say they invited you to come to their swim.
I just wanted a little suspense there to see if anybody's listening. No, they really appreciate the program.
Well, it sounds like it was a good investment that we made as a board.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Greg. Dick, hospital.
Okay, better keep this somewhat short. In relation to cutting and what have you, we were at a hospital trustee conference here, and the 340B program for prescription drugs is being proposed to be cut by 30% or more. That cut right now is supposed to be effective January 1st, 2018. We encouraged all our board members to please contact the Congresswoman to protect this program cut. It's a fair amount of income to the hospital up there. It's been very good for us. So I'd like to extend that to the legislators to feel free to extend a letter to Elise. And she does a lot of good for us, but she needs to hear from the voters, like John had said. How do we feel about that? And that is very near and dear to our hospital here and making money.
So it's the feds that want to cut it?
Yep. Yep.
And what's the basis behind that?
Phil,
Is this like part of the...
Not to be negative, but I think it's the whole thing with the ACA program.
That's what I was wondering.
I think it is.
It's part of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we could get that.
So then would you suggest we draft a resolution to her or to the feds?
I think if each one of us, I think 10 letters, one from each one of us would be better than one resolution from the board. But Jerry, what are your thoughts? Maybe both even would be good.
Yeah, I would suggest a resolution would probably be more helpful, because if these elected officials are receiving 10 letters that look very much alike, it appears as a mass mailing that is not as effective as a resolution from the whole.
And I think as a resolution, which was adequately eloquently brought up earlier, that we speak for our community. We are their voice.
So, we don't have a resolution tonight. Can I get permission to work with Patty and draw up that resolution?
I think you've got it, yep.
Okay, good. We will do that.
Well, if you want to propose the resolution, you would make the motion for a late resolution.
Okay.
And the board could approve it pending approval of the county attorney.
Okay, I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Dick, second by Greg. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Additionally, we congratulated Mrs. Danielle York. She's in our computer system support department as Employee of the Month for July. And I think we've started something a little new. We're going to recognize the winner of that at the meetings, and she was presented with a large, lovely arrangement of flowers as well. And then I want to just cover a little bit of this. Gary, who's our new CEO at the hospital, has instituted something up there to give us, the board, something to think about. When you come back from a retreat, there's all kinds of great ideas and what have you. And so he instituted some discussion for different things. And one of them had to go with the 3 aspects of governance. And I think over the last few years, we've all gotten a little too complacent with trying to run the hospital rather than governing the hospital, if you will, so to speak. So the 3 aspects of governance, one is fiduciary. That's what do we have to do and how do we use the money to do it. And it fosters accountability and promotes discipline in the work. It involves facts, figures, financials, and risk. Then there's a strategic piece of governance, and that leads the board to ask questions about marketing position, market share, strategic drivers, priorities, completion and comparative advantages, and who are the key stakeholders. And then you do a strength, weakness, SWOT analysis, and see what our strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats are. This is stuff that we've done maybe 5, 6 years ago, and I think it's new that we get back into it again, so I applaud Gary for bringing this back up to us. And then the generative part of it will lead the board to ask questions that come from fiduciary and strategic questions, such as, are we framing the issue correctly? Are we attacking the right pieces of the pie? How else could we look at it? What else should we consider? And then that will lead to a reconsideration of how our current state may best be understood. So that's going to be part of what he's going to be continuing on through with his workers at the hospital. On the finance end of it, we're down to $1.5 million, I believe. Patty?
Yes.
Okay, good. We had a loss for August, and we had a loss for July, but not a lot of alarm there. A lot of it was our orthopedic services line and the downstream ancillary services, which are radiology and surgical areas. We are on the track to rebound from that. We're going to have surgery, ER, hospitalists, and nursing home docs that are going to be working a lot closer together because they're going to be working for one person. We can control that. We've had some competing up there in the past where we had 2 or 3 different contractors, and we've all worked with 2 or 3 different contractors. Sometimes they don't always play nice and get along. So we're expecting to bounce back from that. We still have a surplus year to date of $3,238,000 versus our budgeted surplus today, which would have been $760,430. So there's no need for alarm, but we did have those 2 months of losses, and I just wanted to explain that part of it. And that concludes the hospital report. But while I've got the floor, I'd like to take your indulgence for 1 minute. I had a thought on the way over today, and I asked a couple of people who got here early what they thought about it. And I would like to propose that we consider our November 7th meeting be held in the village of Harrisville, either at the fire hall or a place of their choosing. I would like to have that known that we're going to honor Phil Hathaway for that. I know Phil doesn't really want this, but Phil has been a long-term legislator who has represented the people in his district well. He's represented the people of Lewis County well for a lot of years. And he's a very humble person, but I think he got this meeting in different places started, and I commend you for that, Phil. I think it was a wonderful idea. And Phil, as you all know, did not want to run for re-election this year, so in honoring him, I'd like to propose we do that.
I appreciate that, but I really wish we wouldn't do that.
Okay, I'll
It's a
amend my
nice
motion
thought.
that we do it in Harrisville on November 7th, and we don't honor Phil. I need a second.
You don't even have to sit at the table with us.
Phil, I understand, but it's only right. You've done a wonderful job for the people of Lewis.
Okay, we've got a motion by Dick, second by Andrea. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to move to Harrisville next month, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Phil doesn't count.
Thank you all.
next to him there?
We've got us.
You can't put me on timeout in my own turf.
And that concludes my report. Bart, any questions?
Thank you, Jay. We go to Andrea, Public Health Community Service.
Okay, I have a motion to authorize to fill supervising public health nurse, which will be vacant on 10/26.
Okay, we got a motion by Andrea, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, I have another motion. A motion to advertise for applicants to fill the vacant office for the aging director position.
Okay, we got a motion by Andrea to fill a vacant position. What's the agent? Do we have a second? Second by Jerry. Discussion.
So is this acting? I guess I don't understand.
I thought we were advertising.
I thought we were too.
We are.
For office of the
Just
aging
wanted it on the
director?
record.
It's just got.
Oh, you want it on the
Just
record?
wanted it on the record.
Okay, any other complaints? All in favor of Andrea's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, for public health, there's a couple of resolutions in your packet. There's also a proclamation tonight. The week of October 22nd through the 28th is National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. Penny reported that flu vaccines have begun, and the staff will offer vaccines at the courthouse on October 25th and at DSS on November 2nd. And there's other sites around, or you can go to your doctor or go to the Office of Public Health. To the Community Services Board, Pat is back, and so the office hours have returned to normal. And on Wednesday, September 27th, the South Louis Girls Varsity Soccer Team hosted a charity game to raise funds in efforts to promote suicide prevention awareness. It was estimated roughly 100 in attendance, and $500 was raised to support suicide prevention and awareness. The game was also supported by South Louis Chapter of Sources of Strength and Julie Birmingham. They assisted at the game with fundraising and distributing awareness materials. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik announced HAP, the YAC Coalition, was awarded a Drug-Free Communities DFC Support Program grant. The grant amount was $125,000. These funds will be used to support substance abuse prevention programs in Lewis County. Mountain View Prevention Services was recognized by Lewis County Chamber of Commerce for providing prevention services for Lewis County for 30 years. And Mountain View Prevention Services has hired a new executive director, help me Dick, Corian Scribble.
Yep, I believe it's Scribble.
She will assume her duties in mid-October, and she comes after serving as Jefferson County Mental Health Association Executive Director. And that concludes my report.
Very good, Andrea, thank you. And I'll quickly go through some of my monthly activities. A number of us attended the NISAC seminar in Syracuse, September 13 and 14. Attorney Joan, Manager Ryan, Craig and myself. One of the more interesting seminar topics was the driverless car seminar. It was, the guy actually predicted in the very near future there'll be cars going down the road 90 miles an hour, inches apart. The question was asked, what would happen if you put a person in the midst of them? And things like that have yet to be determined. But they started talking about how they've already run a test where a tractor trailer went 150 miles with a police escort on the highway and safely delivered cargo.
Fully loaded.
Fully loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they started talking about driverless school buses. And they want to do a test now for driverless snowplow.
See you, John.
Craig, being ever alert, volunteered and have him go up on Tug Hill.
Yeah. I said bring it.
But it warned us, you know, it's coming. The Lieutenant Governor said she's been in a driverless car twice now. So they said that probably do away with taxi drivers, Uber.
Yeah.
We have to job security.
The technology is there, it's assisted. So anyhow, interesting. Myself and Craig made it back in time to attend the ceremony at Johnson Lumber. The Lieutenant Governor was there to look over the expansion that they're doing there. That was nice. Attended the hospital gala with Ryan on the 30th. Tomorrow the governor is supposed to be in Watertown, and I believe Larry is intended to take my spot, and Ryan will be there to see what he has to announce.
Rocky's planning to go.
Rocky as well, good. Okay, and last month I talked about the Hudson Black River Regulating District offering a tour of the Stillwater Dam and power plant. That is still on. It's for October 11th, which is a Wednesday. They did change their meeting date to that day. They'll have their meeting at 10. They're going to have a lunch at Stillwater Hotel at noon and tour the dam and power plant at 1. So if any legislator wants to come and bring a guest, they're more than welcome. They'd like a day or two's notice on reservations. So if you could let me know if it works for you. I plan on going myself, but this is our chance to see. Recently we got assessed dues to that organization, dues or taxes. So anyhow, they've been telling us they'd love to show us what they do with some of the money. So this is a chance.
Mike, what time is the meeting?
The meeting is at 10.
10, okay.
Yep, at Stillwater.
It's a Stillwater hotel.
Didn't get the location of the meeting, but where else could it be there? I guess I'll have to let you know if you plan on coming.
I don't know if they have an office at the dam or not. Do you, right? It's been a long time since I've been.
I don't know what they have.
It's not that big. It can't be that hard to find.
Okay, just let me know. But the last subject I have is, I'd like to get a little discussion going on the issue that's been in the news quite frequently lately, and that's wind turbines. It seems to be wind turbines versus Fort Drum. And I guess I want to make it clear that I don't believe there's a member in this room that has anything against Fort Drum. We're all for it. We've been down there to support it. But it just seems like for somebody to come in and say that they want to put an automatic ban on it, it doesn't seem right to me. This is America, where it's a democracy, where we talk things out and work things out. When we were down the Fort Drum, that's exactly the message I got, that any new proposed towers, we would be glad to share the information with them, location, everything. And they, you know, they appreciated that and said that we work together. So I guess Ryan and our attorney had the same train of thought and decided to compose their thoughts and put it together in a form of a letter. And before we just send it out automatically, we want to make sure all legislators are on board. So that's why I want to have some discussion tonight, and maybe I should turn it over to you, Ryan, and how you composed the letter and what you tried to clarify in that letter.
Sure. So Joan and I spent some time, well, to back up for a second, you guys I'm sure are aware, as Mike said, this issue is getting hotter and hotter in the North Country, and different organizations are taking the time to state their position on this topic. And Lewis County has more to gain and has more on the line than anyone else in the North Country when it comes to wind energy. So it's my opinion, and I think the board discuss that we need to make our position on this issue clear so that we can start standing up for what we believe in Lewis County, because everyone else in the North Country is doing that. So that's kind of where it started from. The strategy was to get our position out via letter to the editor of the Watertown Daily Times, and then follow up with the media requests that would follow, I'm sure, from other organizations. So that's kind of where we started with it. The gist was that nobody here, of course, can say anything negative about Fort Drum. We understand the impacts of it. Just simply pointing out that wind development has been good to Lewis County. It's become part of our culture to a certain extent here. And, like Mike said, a more nuanced approach should be taken rather than just a complete ban. So I guess that's a good stepping point for discussion going forward.
I thought you did a nice job on the letter. You just presented our situation and no demands, just put the facts out there. And obviously I was quite unnerved and upset a little bit about when the Assemblywoman presented that not to support any wind development around Fort Drum. It was like she was choosing winners, and without any discussion with us where it means a lot. And like we told the general that day, our tax rate is like 30 cents a thousand less than it was 10 years ago, and we don't do anything extra. But you don't read about us in the paper of financial stress either. And these wind developments are our opportunity to do extras, like the radio system that Jerry put through. That we never could have done that. It would have been years from now to be able to do something like that. So that really makes a difference for us, as opposed to maybe a larger county where it's not. They got a $250 million budget and we got $45 million, So, but I do believe there should be opportunities for discussion, just like you said, that maybe there's alternatives, but recognize our financial position and situation. And like it was said earlier, when you work together, good things happen. And we didn't make any, like Mike said at that meeting with the general, it was a great meeting. It was a very positive meeting. We didn't make any demands, he didn't make any demands. We just wanted, and we didn't know what he didn't know. And he didn't realize that we didn't know it here.
And we agreed to continue to be.
Exactly. And that's the way, in my opinion, that this needs to be approached. And again, I'm being long-winded and making up for my short presentation on my committee, I guess, but that to me was a good foundation for this letter that you wrote. That again, there's no demands, there's just stating the facts, and I thought it was a good letter. I'd make a motion, we send it in.
Okay, we've got a motion by Phil, a second by Larry. Is there further discussion on sending the letter to the Watertown paper?
Not discussion on this, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, my suggestion would be not only to the editor of the Watertown Daily Times, but I'd send a letter to every organization that's put up, the FDRLO, police. I would send it to the City of Watertown. The City of Watertown councilman's just passed something yesterday. I'd send it to everyone that basically said, don't put these up. I mean, just to show them that, we are concerned with Fort Drum also, but to explain to them that they shouldn't have the final say in this. It should be a discussion between both groups and Fort Drum, and to come up with a solution that will benefit everyone in some way. Because right now, what it's doing is we're doing this right side, left side now, And we see at the federal level where that's getting us.
Yeah.
Let's not follow through that dynamic at the local level, because we're gonna be in the same predicament that we're going through with the nation right now, so.
Larry?
Phil mentioned the meeting, well, we actually had a couple meetings with Fort Drum, but the last one was general. The takeaway that I had from that meeting was that they were not against wind towers, but they asked for more time to investigate them before we move forward with it. We agreed to that, and that's where we're at right now. We're waiting for Fort Drum's decision on whether they wish to not have wind towers or they're okay with it. We certainly support Fort Drum 100%. If their position is that they don't want the wind towers, that they wish to own that airspace, so to say, that we will work towards that effort. So that was my takeaway, meeting at Fort Drum, and that we're trying to work with Fort Drum. There were a lot of things they weren't aware of, but we weren't aware of, but I think that was the basic takeaway I had was we're working with them, and we're waiting at this point for a decision from them on whether they can work with us on wind farms or not.
Larry, I would have liked to have heard the assemblywoman when she said, don't give any money for subsidies in this area for wind, say, but we'll give it to the counties instead. Or I should include the municipalities as well as the schools. If they're not going to give the money for the subsidies, just give the money to the municipalities and landowners and schools.
And they have.
But that wasn't part of it. That I read anyway, and it was just let's not do it.
And I was kind of like Larry when we left up there. I mean, I think they're waiting on the study. Some of the facts and stuff there, the study was not completed. I do think we have further discussion once that study comes out and decisions to make. But, I also, like everybody said here, is that we're willing to work with them, but we want to keep the options open for Lewis County too, not slam the door. Once that study comes back, till we see it, we're probably going to have further discussions and further decisions that we have to make.
Hopefully that we can make, not the
Well,
state.
I mean, they should be our decisions on that aspect. I mean, if it's involving us, but I mean, I think this blanket policy, I think people are throwing the cart before the horse. Let's get the information to find out how it does affect, if there is more windmills. I mean, there may be at a point when it comes out that they may not be able to be spotted here, there, and all over the place, but there might be corridors that we can still proceed along. So, I mean, I would like to keep our options open, and I will agree with the rest of them. I think we ought to have a say in the decision, not have someone make it for us.
David?
Yeah. Larry, you want to continue? Go ahead. I'll wait.
Well, I was just going to say, as Phil pointed out, that Lewis County is not as fortunate as some of its counterparts to just ignore the revenue stream that would be produced by wind farms. So, we need to weigh a lot of things here, but we just can't ignore it. We just can't.
Have someone decide that we're not going to be able to.
The siting process, as I understand it for windmills, is a long, tedious process that takes about 2 years. What I heard Fort Drum say that day, Larry, and what I've heard the Watertown Daily Times report in their newspaper is Fort Drum wanted information and the capability to input on those siting studies. They weren't looking at a blanket. You mentioned wind for Lewis County, it's bad down, thumbs. they were saying, we'd like to be involved in the citing process. We initially, I believe every legislator there said, we hear you, it's a great idea, we'll do what we can to keep you involved in the citing process. And I think you and the idea and what have you have closed that loop. And we agreed that we would listen to them and take their concerns at the time of each study. My fear, and I say what needs to be said, folks, I apologize if I hurt somebody's feelings, but the anti-wind people are using some very well-intentioned people wrongly in this. They've really put it, let's do away with all of it. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. There's a citing process, let the citing process work out. I don't think there's any of us on this board that's going to say, we don't care about Fort Drum, because we do care about Fort Drum. And I don't think there's any of us now or in the future that's going to vote to do something detrimental to Fort Drum. And that's sort of what I think the letter says.
And that day we were there, I mean, I was kind of surprised in the process. They weren't really asked anything as far as what their thoughts were, if it was affecting and this and that. They were out of the loop.
They're not asking what's in the proclamations that you're seeing from these organizations, not the day we were there. They didn't ask that.
And they still are, according to the article in the paper.
Yeah, exactly.
According to the article in the paper, I mean, it's quoted, and Perry White put it in his editorial, I do believe. Yeah, so, I mean, all I ask is that the other side, that they request the same information before they make their decisions, just like they're asking us to do.
Yeah.
You know, that's all that I ask. I said, if you want to make a valued decision, then use the information that's given to everyone instead of bringing in your own information. And Perry White said that right in his editorial about that retired military person that works for the windmill company down in North Carolina or wherever that wrote in. If you read that article, those gentlemen that wrote in.
He was the head of the DOD citing committee.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, know what he was talking about.
So he, you know, so he's asking us that the pro-win to give this information, but yet the anti-win, they're just going to go with their own people, what they say. And
So Brian, your suggestion was to send a letter to all the parties?
I would. Every organization that has been.
Is that okay with your motion, Phil?
No. No?
Yes, it is.
Well, I'd like to fire out a few more people because I'd like to see you write another letter to the editor. So.
Well, that was spur of the moment.
Brian, would you like to amend that motion?
Yeah, I'd like to amend that motion.
Seconded by Jerry. Discussion on the amended motion? No? All in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, on the main motion now, we send a letter to the Watertown Times and all the people mentioned that Terry has a list of. Discussion on that, Craig.
My question is, and I was at that meeting also with the general, and I concur with everything that was said. Do we have confirmation that they are getting the information they need in a timely fashion? Is there an ongoing communication? Do we have a liaison from Lewis County to Fort Drum to find out if their needs are being met?
I can tell you that they are part of the, under Article 10, they are part of the interested parties. And Frank Pace and a couple of others made sure that they were listed as an interested party under Article 10. They also have the Department of Defense clearinghouse that they are a party to that we're not really a party to. And they examine the effect of any of these wind projects on the Department of Defense. So they, that would be trickling down to them from DOD. I'm sure they're getting that information as well.
I don't recall, were you at the meeting?
Yes.
I specifically remember it was mentioned that DOD is not too reliable in communicating. That's what I'm concerned about.
But that's their process, Craig, so, yeah.
I know, but he was asking, could we step around that and get him direct information so he can look at the siting?
As Joan points out, they are part of the Article 10 process. They are listed as interested party. So
As a listed interested party, they will get the same mailing that we get and the IDA gets.
Ryan, you had a comment?
Yeah, so what we talked about at the meeting and what the continued goal is we have our state bureaucracy and they have their Department of Defense bureaucracy, but we can come together on a local level and, try to solve some of these issues person to person. So I know that Frank and Eric at the IDA have been in touch with Lieutenant Colonel Polk, who is at Fort Drum, and I know that I've been in touch with him. So I hope that they feel comfortable to contact us with any questions that they may have, and I know that we feel comfortable giving them a call when issues may arise. In terms of citing, there hasn't been a whole lot of movement in Lewis County, really over at least that I'm aware of, in terms of specific citing over the past couple months. So there's been nothing, that we've needed to connect on. But I feel that the channels are open and available, for that process.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amended motion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is that the end of your report, Ryan? Go ahead.
As Craig mentioned, the 2018 budget is coming together. It's shaping up to be a difficult year. Really, the health insurance premiums. We added that, instituted that 10% every 6-month policy. Well, that hits us. That hits us as well, and it's going to hit us quite hard this year. So that and it being the union negotiating year, it's just the numbers are a little bit rough around the edges. But Patty and I have come up with some sensible solutions and some ideas to get it down to a manageable level. I look forward to having some good discussions and engaging with the board on their thoughts here in the next couple weeks. We basically have our draft probably 95% together. It's just really the insurance piece that is the question mark hanging above us. And we'll engage Ways and Means here to try to get their input on it and work with the hospital too, because the insurance issue is one that affects them as well, and it's going to affect their budget. So that's coming along. As Andrea mentioned, Office for the Aging, the applications close on Friday. In the interim, I'm handling personnel requests and requisitions. My goal is to stop in at least once every day and check in on them. I've asked Chris and Jenny Jones to do the same, to try to check in on them a couple times a week, and Pat Freilich is next door too. So I have ultimate confidence they'll be just fine over the next month or so. Broadband, as Bill mentioned, the very last changes have been put together into the contract as of last Thursday. Last time we had our conference call with Mohawk, so that should be finally complete this week. And one new bit of information we learned was that they originally thought they would need 23 repeater towers throughout the county to bolster the signal coming from the 911 towers. Well, their logistics and engineering are now saying it's going to be closer to 55 towers. So that's 55 zoning boards, 55 town boards they have to get through. So I don't envy their task, but we're here to help them and try to get that broadband out to the residents. So just a brief update on the broadband. This is my closing in on my 3rd month on the job, but I've been out and about and I'm still meeting people. I made it to my first cream cheese festival, which was really, really fun. The hospital gala last weekend was very well attended, and I even won a Syracuse football signed by the head coach in the silent auction. So the REDC, I was able to make it up to the meeting up in Potsdam and met some interesting people from the state. Set up a meeting with the EDC with the helps of Jackie. So trying to make it out to see everybody. Went to the NISAC conference in Syracuse. OFA had their Oktoberfest.
And he waited tables. He's a very, very good server.
Good job, Ryan.
I never got promoted from busboy, so. ASUA breakfast, that actually ties into our wind conversation. Frank and I attended the ASUA breakfast in Watertown where General Piat gave a wide-ranging talk on all the different operations of Fort Drum, and it was very informative. Jerry and I sat down with the union leadership from both the county and the hospital for a meet and greet to get to know each other, style meeting. So, like I said, trying to cover all of our bases. Jerry wants to follow up with a question that Brian had at a previous meeting, so I'll turn over some of my time to him. And in the future, we might add a hospital administrator update to the agenda for these types of things. So, Jerry, take it away.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. I provided you with a packet, not intended to overwhelm you with paper, but to provide you information and really to respond to Mr. Mosher's question in the last meeting and really, explain that. I'm appreciative of the question. I just finished my 8th week, so I have spent a lot of time evaluating systems, also getting to meet many of the constituencies that support the health system, the hospital, the nursing facility, and the home health and the hospice in our physician practices. So the question was, is it more expensive to get imaging studies done at Lewis County versus an outside facility? So it seems like a pretty straightforward question. And my response was more global, not specific, because I hadn't evaluated a charge master. Now, charge masters is healthcare lingo for priceless, okay? And so I spoke with our CFO the day after the meeting, and I said, I'd like you to help me evaluate our charge master. I'm projecting we probably have 8,600 items on our charge master. Well, I was a little bit off. We have 8,206 items on our price list. And I didn't give you all 8,000 plus, but what I provided you was, I really wanted to focus on some of the diagnostic areas, okay? And then through this charge master and some software we can actually evaluate our price list to other facilities, and that's what this sheet is getting at. So what I can tell you is, like most price lists in any industry, there are some were higher, some were lower, and some where we are right where they are. So so your question was, why was it that someone, one of our retirees, had to go to another system so that our health insurance program would not pay as much as if that person had gone to Lewis County? It's not a price list or charge master issue, it's a benefit structure. So this paper is just showing you that our price list or charge master is competitive with hospitals around us. That's what this is showing you. Patty and Ryan and our CFO and I had an opportunity to meet with our insurance representatives. And this was one page of a multi-page report. And what this page attempts to show you is the utilization of health insurance by county employees at Lewis County and other institutions, okay? Now, as you would expect, we should not get 100% of the business because there are things we don't do and because some of the physicians in the county are not employed by us. So there are physicians in downtown Lowell who are on our medical staff and we work very closely with, that if a member of the county workforce went to that provider, they would not show up under the domestic claims section of this report. Domestic claims means they used a service at Lewis County General, okay? Now, this is where your question actually gets answered. The service that the individual who made the review was receiving went out of network. And out of network, that individual had to pay, I believe it was $350. And then our insurance product paid that institution, let me get my numbers correctly here, The employees, or the retiree share was $350. Our plan paid the institution they went to $340 for a total cost of $780. Okay. That same procedure at Lewis County on our price list is $1,890. The contractual arrangement we have with the insurance carrier would have brought the price down to $980. If an employee of the county uses us, our health insurance plan would have paid all $980. The individual would have had no responsibility. And then therein lies the issue. The fellow went outside of our service area, essentially paid half the cost, and then the institution received their share, a negotiated rate with the insurance company. When you add those two things together, our health insurance plan paid less. But if a member of our county workforce uses our healthcare institution, the insurance plan pays 100%. So it's a health insurance plan design issue rather than a pricing issue. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Right. So what doesn't make sense is it's 100%, right? And I think over the years, and that's what the ACA has tried to do, is all of us participating in health insurance programs pay some portion of ongoing experience and then have the insurance to pay a portion. And I think with the work we'll be doing, hopefully with our subgroup, with the unions and with our insurance providers, is how do we redesign the health insurance plan so that at no point are we picking up 100% of the cost. That's what's flawed in the current model, well, from my perspective. And to answer your question, why it would be more expensive to our plan for someone to use us. Okay. Now, on this, what we should be pleased with is the level of utilization of Lewis County Health by our county workforce. It's very high for the things that we do. And the other thing I know by virtue of what I do for work, when you look at claims total, this is just for the month of July, there were a total of 761 visits somewhere in healthcare by our workforce. Okay. 696 of those encounters were with doctors. That's what we want to have happen, right? Not the emergency department, not getting in for some high diagnostic. So that represents 91% of the activity in July. People saw the doctor, not the emergency room, not a diagnostic procedure, not a hospital inpatient stay. So from that perspective, our health insurance product is working very well. So, any questions about this? You think that's helpful? Now, in support of that, I also included an article that you might find of interest. Anthem is really starting to say that MRIs and CAT scans are not to be done by hospital-owned clinics. And what happens when you are a hospital-owned clinic or you provide a diagnostic service through the hospital? Because we receive Medicare and Medicaid money, we have to serve all comers who need that exam, all right? So we have an overhead, and to support that the freestanding private clinic does not have. Because in a freestanding private clinic, if you don't have coverage, you are not seen. But if you need an MRI in Lewis County and you don't have a payer source, or you receive Medicaid, we will see you. So our cost structure is higher than a true private MRI clinic or diagnostic clinic. So that has been a tension point in healthcare for probably the better part of 15 to 20 years. On page 2, 4th paragraph, there's a quote, and this quote is by a woman by the name of Leah Binder. She's the president and CEO of the Leapfrog Group, which is essentially an advocacy group and watchdog group on behalf of the business sector, and it's national, it's in Washington, D.C. Leah Binder and I worked together for nearly 10 years in Franklin County, Maine at Franklin Community Health Network. We were both executives and reported directly to the chief executive there. And so this is an individual I've known for most of my professional life. And what she says is, to achieve true value, you have to have high quality care at a good price. And that's the essence of why Leapfrog does not support this move by Anthem to have a blanket statement where they're not going to support individuals going to hospital-based clinics for their diagnostic services. So what really should drive decision-making is not only pricing, but quality. And that's referred to as the value equation. And now most healthcare organizations are measured publicly based on value and pricing. We are no exception to that. So this gives you a little insight on that piece. And lastly, I also provided you with an article, and it's entitled, Now What? 5 Looming Challenges for the Affordable Care Act. As you might expect, I'm not somebody who believes we should repeal without replace. That would be catastrophic to Lewis County General. And this for me is a philosophy and not only a personal belief, but a professional belief. This article attempts to answer some questions around people enrolling in insurance products that have been supported by the Affordable Care Act and essentially the subsidized market. So I just thought I'd provide some light reading for you.
Is there going to be a quiz on this?
Well, you're going to be okay since you're not running for re-election. And lastly, I really enjoyed, last week I finished up my 8th week, and I really enjoyed working with the board of managers. And one of the things that the board has really taken a hold of, what will be the future of Lewis County General Hospital, which I keep referring to as Lewis County Health, because we're more than a hospital. And over the next 10 to 15 years, what you are going to see is this notion of healthcare going beyond the traditional walls of the acute institution. In recognition of that, the board has been working on a new mission statement. And so I've included in the packet, so you're aware, they're going through a process of review and a couple of readings before taking final action. Correspondingly, we're reorganizing ourselves and really modernizing the organizational chart to meet healthcare needs of today. But the proposed mission statement that the board is working and evaluating is answering 3 questions: how, why, and who. The how: to work cooperatively with other interested individuals and organizations. And when I heard your dialogue about the wind turbines, that's exactly what this is all about. It's no longer just the acute hospital driving all of the activity. That it is an imperative that we work collaboratively with public health and the other not-for-profit organizations involved in both community health and social services in Lewis County. Why would we do that? To achieve the highest level of health and wellness possible. Healthcare is no longer just about curing. If we do this right, maybe we can help prevent a few things. And if you want to drive insurance premiums down, prevent a few things. It's like auto insurance. You get in a few car accidents, the rates go up. If you don't, the rates go down. For who? For the population of Lewis County and surrounding communities. Obviously, our obligation is to Lewis County, but we have a number of communities around our county. And, from a market share perspective, a business model perspective, I want as many of those covered lives as we can get into our health system to help support our financial infrastructure so that we're a viable concern for the next generation. So the board is really doing good work on this, and I'm sure Mr. Charlene will be able to report back within the next 2 months on where this landed. And as always, if you have any questions between now and your next meeting, please do not hesitate to give me a call, and I'll do what I need to do to address your question.
Jerry, I inadvertently left off the skilled nursing facility rates. Would you just,
Sure.
that's a good story, just to.
Yeah, that's, thank you for that. We had some deliberations. We are not raising the rates at the nursing facility in the next fiscal year. I believe that there's the opportunity to drive more efficiencies. And when I worked with my management team, I basically asked them, when was the last time we didn't raise the rates? And the answer was, well, we always raise the rates. And I said, well, why do we do that? The answer was, well, that's just the way we've done it. So I'm pleased to report that there is no rate increase at the nursing home. And my goal would be that we would not have rate increases for some period of time in the near future. Because I think there's some opportunities through efficiencies, through reorganization, and redeploying our resources differently. So the board accepted that recommendation and voted. And so the budget that I reviewed just 2 days ago, I'm pleased to say that we're bringing forward a budget that will break even. Actually has a very modest gain of a few $1,000s by budget. And our executive committee will get a chance to review that tomorrow, I believe. And so in the not too distant future, we'll be handing it off to Patty.
It was our understanding that a raise, Jerry, only affected 6 out of 170 beds or something.
Right, so that's the other part of the issue. It's a disproportionate impact on the community. Because, Medicare and Medicaid will not pay us any more if we raise our rates, 1 penny or $100 per month. So those who have some type of long-term care insurance product would see the disproportionate pain of raising our rates. Well, that didn't seem practical to me, because why would we want to push somebody's private resources, have them go through their private resources more quickly and then become part of the Medicaid program? Yeah, so that just doesn't seem like a good business model. So that's what we're doing. Any questions?
Yes. Jerry, doing a zero-based budget is the easy part. Making that zero-based budget is the hard part.
Yeah.
Do you have confidence in the budget that you're going to present, that you can make that zero-based budget?
Absolutely. I can tell you where we started. Well, we started with a $5 million deficit. And so budget building in this environment was interesting. So, we had some heart-to-heart talks with the management team and evaluated essentially the entire workforce and the positions that are open, not open, filled, not filled, all that sort of thing. And then we reevaluated some of the contracts that we have. So I would say cautiously optimistic. And the caution is there because in order for us to meet our budget objectives, there are 2 things that need to be stable in the organization: the orthopedic service and the general surgery service. And if those 2 things are stable, we will generate the right throughputs, from a business perspective to meet our financial obligations. So that's important. The other thing the budget attempts to do is begin a full court press on recruitment for primary care physicians. And about 2.5 to 4 years out, we have a nucleus of primary care physicians who will likely retire. And as you know, in healthcare, you drive the business model by orders written by the physician. Well, if they're retired and we haven't effectively replaced them, we're setting ourselves up for difficult times. So if orthopedics and general surgery work the way I anticipate they will, and at the same time we begin the recruitment for the primary care physicians who will retire, then I think we can meet all our financial goals.
My concern in the past has been our aggressive projection of units of service that we just don't make in the past.
So I'm a big fan of using trend data and upper and lower controls and understanding random variation versus legitimate change in activity or trends. And so we applied those principles when putting our volume projections together.
I didn't understand a word you said, but it sounded good.
So we're doing our due diligence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you very much. Add one thing. This this piece of the health insurance report that we got from GKG, this was one of our most discussed pages, because anecdotally, based on the gentleman, the retiree that came in to see us, you would think that if 38% of all business went domestically to the hospital, then the cost of the plan would be disproportionate, meaning if 38% people went to the hospital, the cost of the plan would be 50%. That's not true. 38% of visits cost the plan 38.1% of total cost. So, you know, maybe perhaps anecdotally for that one gentleman, you know, that instance, his experience was correct, but from a whole plan perspective, that's just not the case. So great to have the evidence to back up, you know, what we're trying, you know, when we're trying to make these decisions. It's good to have the evidence. Mr. Chairman.
Is that the end of your report? Very good, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll go to the county treasurer report. Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have the floor. I had a brand new grandbaby yesterday. That's all. I'll give my report now. Special legislative contingency is $388,154.14. Contingency is $323,924.27. Capital data processing is $117,770.63. Capital equipment, the county portion is $262,397.21. Highway portion is $142,434.52. Sales tax to date is $7,266,703, and we are above budget. Hospital repayment, as Dick said, we are at $1.5 million. And internal service fund had a very good month. We had a positive of $193,130, so our fund balance is at $1.9 million. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Patty, on the bed tax report we received, is it always the same 6
Yes.
that never send? What can we do about that?
Well, I have to say they don't send them, but then they're really what they are is late. The one that is always late, you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we don't really have any real recourse until we change. If there is anything we can do, we've talked about it. We don't really know if there is anything more we can do. Bed tax, I really.
I'm not, in my experience, in both in Ohio and here, I haven't seen where you can add a whole lot of teeth to that. I don't know, John.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we are looking at it from another perspective, and next month we'll probably bring something to the board about Airbnb as well, as another way to try to collect the bed tax that we can do.
On other.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, on the ISF fund, within the last 6 months, I remember that being like 750,000. It's now $1,952,000, so some of what we're doing is working in the right direction to make that fund get back to where we want it. We're only about halfway there, but we're headed that way at least. In committee, there was some talk of either the county and the hospital, or both of them, putting a chunk of money into that to bring us up even further. I think so in the future, we're going to discuss that again, but right now we're headed in the right direction.
So the hospital, Jerry and the CFO and Patty and myself are going to sit down and take a look at that issue specifically and how we could address that. The fear is that we could shoot right past our goal and build up, again, too large a fund balance in the internal services fund, which once it's in there, it cannot be used for anything else. So it's a fund that we want to be careful about building up too much of a surplus.
Based on past experience, it doesn't seem to be too much of a fear.
No, we've got time.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, any further questions for Patty? Okay, we'll go back to our public hearing. Was there any further public comment regarding the Lewis County direct home ownership assistance program or addition of off-road trails to the ATV trail system. Any comments before we close? Okay, I announce that public hearing is closed. We go to the report of the Ways and Means Committee for Rule 7. Terry.
Ways and Means Committee reports they recommend they examine the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $1,169,683.60 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
That is moved by Larry, second by Craig. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolutions?
First resolution is to audit and allow the claims in the amount of $1,169,683.60.
Was moved by Craig, second by Larry. Roll call vote, Terry.
Brennan?
Yes.
Chartran?
Yes.
Dahlhoff?
Yes.
Fawcett?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Colzer?
Yes.
Mowerhand?
Yes.
Mosier?
Yes.
Tabo?
Yes.
Supporting statewide ballot proposal number 3 that will create a land account to address specific public health and safety concerns for use by towns, villages, and counties having no viable alternative other than using forest preserved land.
That's moved by Jerry, second by Craig. Discussion?
We heard about that at NISAC, and there's a real need to get this passed, because they have no way of building their infrastructure, because a lot of these places are in the Adirondack Park. So it creates a real problem for those people up there. Excuse me. And I would like to remind everybody that when you vote this time, look at the back of the ballot. Often we don't. And there's some very interesting and important issues on the back of the ballot. That's one that I think I would encourage everybody to see it passed.
Thank you,
Thank
Craig. And that's why we put it in the form of a resolution, so that the public knows that we have reviewed this and it's good for the region.
Yeah.
Other comments regarding the resolution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To increase state support for Cornell Cooperative Extension County Associations in the state.
Moved by Jerry, second by Larry. Discussion?
Brian, is there a county share?
Yeah, so before we put this on the agenda, I called over to Michelle to make sure we knew exactly what we were doing. And Lewis County is a non-hold harmless, I forget, what's it called? Hold harmless? Yeah, so our aid to Cornell Cooperative Extension is based on what we want to give them, and this is separate state aid, basically. So, budget neutral.
Other comments? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds district attorney.
Moved by someone? Dick, second by Larry. Discussion? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Transfer funds economic development.
Moved by Larry, second by Jerry. Discussion?
Where is this, Larry?
The Leadership Academy, I'm not sure.
I know what the leadership, I don't understand the $1,000 tuition, isn't it?
It's to pay part tuition for the attendees.
The Chamber of Commerce does this, right?
They put it on, and we support it by giving a, if you will, a contribution to help pay the students.
Have we done this before?
This is, I can't answer that.
Well, they just brought the Leadership Academy back, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I couldn't hear what you guys were saying. What did you say, Jerry?
I thought it was last year we put 1,000 in.
Well, that was my question. It wasn't in the budget?
It was a couple years ago, because we haven't had a leadership academy for 1 or 2 years, so. But we did put something into it either 2 or 3 years ago.
But not last year because they didn't
They didn't have the academy.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement with New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Agreement with New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Moved by Greg, second by Larry. Discussion? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Agreement with Tetra Tech to provide engineering and consulting services for the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update.
Moved by Phil, second by...
I have a question.
Moved by Phil, second by Brian. Discussion?
Jerry, I raised my hand this much because I had a question. Anyway, this says that we were awarded a $150,000 grant, and then we were going to pay 25% of that, which is $37,500 initially. And apparently, we got a quote that was less than that. So now we would be paying like $25,758. Because is that
Yes.
accurate?
I would have to,
I could say yes.
Okay, then when we did the original, did we commit the money then, or now that we know the actual, we're gonna be committing the money and we'll do a resolution next month for that 23 or 25?
I think we're gonna wait because some of this will be in-kind services, so we're gonna wait until it all takes shape and get something done.
But our max now would be 25,000, not 37,000.
Yeah.
Because that's 25%.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
So,
Go ahead.
just wondering if Phil wants to amend it to really say it is.
We don't know because of the in-kind services.
Yeah, we should, I would recommend we not amend it any further.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing implementation and funding for the federal aid Marchicelli program cost transportation project, appropriating funds for bridge replacement at the High Market Road.
Moved by Craig, second by Brian. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appropriate funds, machinery.
Moved by Andrea, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appropriate funds, transportation department.
Moved by Jerry, second by Rocky. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appropriate funds, transportation department.
Moved by Dick, second by Greg. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Transfer funds, legislative.
Moved by Phil, second by Rocky. Discussion? I see him over there. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Greg, you had a question?
No, I
He opposed.
You're
Oh,
opposed.
Joe Greg, Counselor opposed. Next resolution.
I got it right, Mike, I got it right, I'm sorry. Transfer funds, Office for the Aging.
Moved by Andrea, second by Brian. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing Office for Aging to retain outside counsel.
Moved by Rocky, second by Jerry. Discussion?
Why would they need outside counsel?
So this supports
For the
that,
seniors.
yeah, this supports the program that we just allocated a little bit extra money for the seniors to come in and get power of attorney or have their will done. It's that program.
Every week or so, I get a card in my mailbox from a law firm that offers free legal advice to people such as that. I get them all the time. They meet up in our boardroom,
I think that's separate, though.
but it didn't say specifically, it just says legal services for those that qualify. And I dare say most of our seniors using that service would qualify.
Is it from Office by the Agent?
No, that's the Legal Aid Society of